And with that, Lori Sperduto-Cox is a supervisor for the Department of Child Development. She's a certified lactation consultant, an international board certified lactation consultant, and a speech pathologist. Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. And we are going to be sharing screens back and forth a little bit tonight. So bear with us. She's on.
Hi guys, I'm Lori. It's very nice to meet you guys, though I can't see you at all. I can only see my screen, which is great. I'm hoping people can see me. Danielle, you're gonna have to, are they looking at me or they're seeing both me and my slideshow? All right, we'll see if Danielle.
They are seeing you and your slideshow. You're in a little box next to them.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so tonight the topic that we're going to discuss is assisting your child to communicate clearly and effectively, which will support his or her growth and self-esteem. So we're going to learn about speech development and different language milestones from birth to 3. And we're going to learn on how we can really facilitate strategies and what to do if we really are concerned about our child's speech and language development. So Danielle already introduced me, but I am the supervisor at the Kirker Center for Child Development at Valley Hospital. I'm a speech language pathologist who works and specializes in both speech and feeding. I received my master's degree from New York Medical College. I provide diagnostic and therapeutic services for both inpatients at Valley Hospital and at the outpatient center. I provide yearly language training workshops for local daycare providers and preschool teachers. And I've been working with the pediatric population for the last 10.5 years here at Valley Hospital. Prior to working at Valley, I worked 5 years at Blythedale Children's Hospital. And before Blythedale Children's Hospital, I worked for 1.5 years it was called the Children's Rehab Center. And it was a rehab facility all the way in Putnam County, New York, which serviced children from birth to 7 years of age. So that's my background. And I love what I do. I absolutely love every piece of my job. So it makes my job absolutely great every day. So the first thing we're going to talk about is eye contact. And eye contact is one of the earliest means of communication. And that starts from infancy. And eye contact is used to request, it's used to greet or direct attention. And this eye contact allows for connectivity between the speaker and the listener. And making eye contact is among one of the most important milestones for a baby. And this milestone is established between 6 and 8 weeks of life. So it's pretty amazing when you watch young babies start to learn how to gaze at their parents, and not only then gaze, but follow. And that's what this eye contact is about. So strategies to help establish eye contact. First, you sit face to face with your child or baby, because being at that level with them allows the parent and the child to establish better eye contact. So it's hard to establish eye contact if you're standing and the baby's sitting and you're multitasking. So that's why it's so important to bend down and get to their level, whatever level that the baby's at. You should hold objects near your face to help guide their visual attention. So if you're holding, if the baby wants an apple, or the 18-month-old is looking at your apple, you're holding it right by your face and you're saying, apple. What mommy has, apple. And you're really trying to get their visual attention towards your face. Another strategy is to put your child's hands on your face, and that gains them really good visual attention in their direction. I would also reduce all that auditory and visual distractions like the iPad and the TV. And sometimes we have the TV on, not because anyone's watching it, just because it's on for background noise. So those are the moments that it's just worth turning it off. So the attention is towards the speaker and there's not anything on in the background to distract us. Another strategy is to play that funny face game in the mirror and help your child to establish contact in the mirror, and look how silly, you could do things with your face and your tongue, and Children love that. The more silly you are, the better you're establishing their attention. So these two pictures show this eye contact. And in the first picture, even though she's wearing the hat, you know, she's peeking under the hat just to look at the caregiver. And in the other picture with the baby, this little young girl is attempting to establish eye contact with her baby brother, which is beautiful because that's learned, right? She learned that when she was little, and even now, people are always trying to get her attention. So she's going right up in his face to get his attention, which is a beautiful example of eye contact. So joint attention is the sharing of an experience between a child and a partner. And during the infant stage, this partner is usually the caregiver, but as you see, it doesn't always have to be the caregiver. Sometimes siblings are the best way to establish joint attention because they don't have any shame getting up in your face. So I really find that siblings can be very helpful in this process. So as a child continues to grow, this joint attention is also between peers. And a shared experience is looking at or directing attention to an object or an event. And it's an essential skill for language, speech, and social skills as children get older. The beginning of joint attention in an infant can be noted even during nursing or feeding a baby a bottle. And that's because there's that close face-to-face contact when the baby, you know, has those moments of bonding. So different activities to help develop joint attention are, you know, for that older 18-month-old child, 15-month-old, you're saying to the child, look at me, look at mommy. And then you're tapping their face and maybe tapping your face or taking their hand and putting it on their face as you're saying, look at me. You can point to a toy that the child likes and you're saying, look. You're waiting for them to find the toy and to visually get the attention to that toy. And then you're rewarding the child for that moment of joint attention to play with the toy. Bubbles are one of our top very cheap speech items because bubbles can facilitate so much language, and they could even be, you know, just an activity where you're just establishing attention, meaning you blow, the child is watching the bubbles, but then the child should look back at the source of where the bubbles came from, and that's going to cue you to blow again. So those are moments of early joint attention. Even if a child doesn't have words to say more or me, those are things to work on. Another really fun activity is you blow up a balloon, but you don't tie it and you don't let it go. You say, look, and when the child looks at you, you let it go, and it makes that silly noise, and then it falls down to the floor. And then the child runs and picks it up and gives it back to you because they can't make it happen. So they need your help making it happen again. So those are other good activities to help establish joint attention. And this is a picture of me with my middle child. And we were at a wedding, and, you know, he was probably the shortest child or the smallest child there. It was mainly adults, but yet somebody captured this moment where I tried to take the time to establish joint attention because he was either dancing or attempting to sing. And I was, you know, I got down on his level. I held his hands. I'm close to his face. And those are moments that joint attention is really established. So by sharing this awareness and interest, you're achieving joint attention. Book activities are an amazing way to establish this. The goal is that the child is looking at the picture, but not only their focus is on the book, but their focus comes back at you, like, tell me more. What else do you want to say about the book? And they're using their eyes, their eye gaze between the book and you to really establish attention. And I really do believe that silence, I tell parents this all the time in therapy, silence is okay because you need to have this wait period. And sometimes the wait period of silence is what helps the child realize that if they do something or act upon it, that more, even if it's just noise to them, or, you know, something else is going to happen. And pick books that are colorful, simple pictures, not too busy. So, you know, there's a lot of great, later on, I give some examples of great books. Danielle, I'll stop sharing so you can get that other video up while I talk. So, you know, those are really these early books help, and the books that are not too busy, that the attention is just to one picture. So we're going to play this video. I'm going to be really quiet. So there's these two moments. I want you guys to watch it again. It's right at the beginning. There's a moment where he picks up his passy and he puts it in his mouth and he looks back. See, so he's looking to get his mom's attention. Hey, look what I did. I did it by myself. Did you see it? Now he keeps going and he reached the top. And there he's looking at his mom to celebrate that moment with him, right? So that's pretty amazing. Okay, we're going to go back. Okay, look, we did that pretty good. Turn taking. Turn taking is essential in conversation as speech develops. That's what communication is, right? It's not a one-way road. It's this back and forth. So it begins in play and during joint attention and interactions. So play, play, play. That is, you know, one of the best ways that a child learns about the world, and from this early young age. So it's one of these early goals that they need to practice to turn taking to become an effective communicator, because they need to understand conversational exchange and when it's their turn to wait as well as their turn to respond. So early vocabulary such as my turn, mommy's turn, your turn will reinforce turn taking. So a lot of times you're rolling a ball, and back and forth, and it's this idea, you see the ball moving, me, my turn, and then you're going back. So, and you could use very simple items, a little toy car and a slide, and you could lean that against the couch and you can make the car fall down, and one of you is getting it and one of you is putting it on, and you're taking turns, or different turns with a little pop-up toy. You pop it, then the baby pops it, and you're going back and forth. Using blocks is a very simple way. You make a tower, so it's my turn, your turn, my turn, and then boom, and you knock it down. Shape sorters, you can dump it, you can put them in, you can help find the shape, and then the baby could put it in. Or the baby finds the shape and you put it in. So you're taking turns to complete an activity, because that's what communication is really about. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. Danielle's going to put the next video. So in this next video, I had to cut it a lot, but this is a young baby who is actually taking turns. All right. Danielle, I can't hear it. I don't know if you can or anybody else can hear, because I think you're muted.
Good call. Oh my gosh, it's adorable.
We can't hear it. I can say what's happening. We hear you, but we don't hear the video. So in the video, this mom is saying, shake, 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 shake. And then the baby the baby starts shaking back and forth. And then she stops saying it and the baby shakes. And then the mom says it again, shake, shake, shake. So I wish you could hear the video because it's pretty adorable, but they're interacting by she's saying shake, shake, shake and demonstrating, and they're taking turns, which is adorable. All right, it's okay that we can't hear it. We'll go on.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
It's very cute.
Okay, so motor imitation. Speech is a complex motor and verbal task. One of the most important early steps in speech development is to, copy these motor movements and sounds. So you're helping your child learn to imitate motor movements. Just imitating any motor movement will improve eye contact, which will improve interaction, which will get to the end goal of language. So I recommend setting aside these 2 periods, 1 or 2 periods during the day, where you're focusing on motor imitation. And they should be short because babies and children have very short attention spans. So you're going to establish a time and a place to eliminate distractions. And you're going to be really creative and use your imagination. And later on, I talk about different routines. And it's best to establish these ideas and periods of learning in your natural routine, such as bath, mealtime, leaving the house, coming home, stuff that you would do anyway, but you're making it a point in that routine to focus on something. So motor imitation are things such as clapping, waving, scribbling on a paper, brushing hair, blowing a kiss, throwing, pushing, stirring. You're pushing a car, patting a puppy, knocking down blocks, hammering a peg, opening things. You're pulling your socks off, flying a plane, putting hats on, blowing bubbles, brushing teeth, banging blocks, and tickling feet. So these are different examples. I don't know from your screen if you could tell, but if you really zoomed in on the first picture of the mom holding the baby's sticking her tongue out, and the mom is sticking her tongue out at the baby, and it's this beautiful motor imitation. And that's an oral motor imitation, which is even harder, right? So, but what I want you not to get discouraged about is if your baby is not, he can't stick his tongue out when I do, or he doesn't, work on different types of imitation. So in the middle picture, they're both putting a hat on, right? So the brother is looking at her and showing her, he's modeling, look, we both put the helmets on, and they're looking at each other. And that's a motor imitation, just imitating putting on a hat. And then in the last picture, the brother is vacuuming for real and she's vacuuming for pretend, but they're both, they took the time to give the baby the vacuum so they could do that motor task together, because that's how communication is established, through motor imitation as a baby. So gestures are essential. They're this crucial stepping stone before words. So gestures are clapping, waving, arms up, blowing a kiss, high five, pointing, giving, showing, shaking your head no, nodding your head yes. These have all of these gestures that I listed. They have communicative intent. You're clapping because you're happy. You're waving to greet or to say goodbye. So all of these things that we don't always see as language are pre-language, and they're so important. That's the foundation to words. So it's always good to meet your child where they are, right? So if they're not waving, you could do hand over hand. If they're not clapping, you could do banging blocks at midline. And you could be imitating these things instead of trying to get the verbal outcome. So sound imitation. Toddlers will imitate sounds more easily than words. Verbal sounds should be made simultaneously with movement. So you're not just tapping on a drum. You're tapping and you're like boom, 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 boom. You're not pushing a car, you're pushing it and saying vroom, vroom. And these count as words, vroom and moo for the sound that the cow makes. So when the pediatrician starts saying how many words, you can count animal sounds as words. You can count environmental noises such as vroom, beep, as words. So all these early sounds use, that's a typo, these same vowel and consonant sounds that will be used for syllables and words, right? So moo is in a different word on move, so these early sounds are the syllables that will later be used connected to form words. So it's always important to make all these verbal sounds during play, because that you're hoping that your toddler is going to imitate these sounds. And this is a very important step in imitating words and phrases. So with transportation items, I gave some examples of a train, a car, a fire truck, a boat, and a truck. And you could do different imitative words that go with it. Choo choo as you're pushing, beep beep as you're driving, woo woo for the fire truck. I mean, the boat, I was trying to be creative, pa, 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 and take a little boat or pretend something's a boat in the bath. Children, bath time is such a special time because the kid can't really move. It's not that safe to move around. So they're sitting there. You have a little bit more control at that moment. The truck is honk, honk. And then I gave examples of kitchen play. So you could pretend you're popping popcorn, pop, 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 pop. And you get a cup and you're either pretending it's hot chocolate or coffee and you're like, hot, and then you're blowing. So they know the gesture that goes with what it is. And you're pretending to eat and you're saying, so yummy, and you're licking. And then it's, you exaggerate your facial expressions and it's yuck. And you wrinkle your nose. So they start to pick up on language that is also non-communicative, right? There's so much body language that we use all the time, and that's how we really express ourselves. So these are other sound imitation activities: a clock, tick, tack, tick, tack, a phone, bling, bling, and you're holding the phone to your ear, a vacuum, brum, brum, and you're pretending to push the vacuum, sneezing, hiding, that's during that peekaboo. Baby, you're pretending to cry. A cow, a dog, you're singing those nursery songs of Old MacDonald and all of those songs. So we also always have to remember that there's a wide range of normal acquisition of early speech sounds. And there are quiet babies, and there are other babies that are talkers. And those are the babies that perform for social attention, and they capture a crowd easily. And then there are those other babies that don't even smile when you come out, and you're like, I swear my kid smiles, but not in public. So we need to know that there's a varying range of personality, and personality is going to affect speech development. So there's some babies that focus on motor development, and those are the babies that are walking well before their first birthday, and they acquire speech after. And then there are other babies that are happy sitting in the car seat or the stroller, and they're learning by observation, and they're learning all their speech skills and these cognitive skills before they learn how to walk. And then they walk after. And those are the babies, when you're shopping, you're like, why did my kid never sit in a stroller as nicely as that kid? I have 3 boys, so I never had that like quiet personality. I had those motor runners. And just always remember that I never want you to push these interactions, but know that they start from so young, which is pretty amazing. Okay, we're going to share. I don't know if we're going to be able to hear this. We'll do it one more time and try. So in this video, once Danielle pulls it up, there's a little girl, and she's walking in this apparatus. Let's see if the volume works.
Is the volume working?
Not really. It's like not clear enough. You could tell that there's some volume in the background, but it's not clear enough. But I'll describe what's happening. So she's independently, you could play it in the background, Danielle, while I talk. She's playing by herself, but she is playing with sound. And there's even some really nice D's when the dogs come near her, which, is also beautiful, but and she's using her hands, and she's actually, I even cut this shorter just because I was having trouble sending it, but It's some beautiful early speech sounds. Not that we can hear them, but but it's adorable because she's reaching for the dog, she's playing, she's talking to herself. It's very, very nice how this is how babies sometimes, just when they're playing, they're discovering the world, and a lot of times movement helps. So, you know, she's moving and babbling. Okay. All right. So early speech milestones, 0 to 3 months, you're seeking to make eye contact with an adult. And what is so beautiful in this picture is the toddler is really looking at the baby's toes or belt, or really her eyes are not on the baby's face, but the baby is trying to look right at her face. And that these babies from 0 to 3 months, this is a 2-month-old, is showing interest in people and not objects. They're attempting to imitate facial expressions. They're showing awareness of a speaker. They're vocalizing to a caregiver's smile. That's those little baby coos, those open vowels. Okay, so here's a 3-month-old, and they smile at faces of several family members. So there's a photographer trying to take a Christmas photo, but instead she's like, oh wait, my grandpa walked by. I would rather look at him and smile and see if he's cool with all of this, rather than smile at the photographer who's trying to make me look at her. So they vocalize in response to vocalizations. They imitate facial expressions. They're reaching for objects. That's that early reaching between 3 and 6 months. They're recognizing their own name. So as early as that seems, a 6-month-old, if you're saying Peyton should be turning, Mason, they should be turning, they're really starting to be like, wait, they're talking to me. That's my name. And they take turns vocalizing with these early cooing sounds, and they're laughing. They give you that adorable belly laugh at this age. 6 to 9 months, they show a desire to be with people. They interact with objects without mouthing or banging. They respond to the gesture to one up. So you're like, you want mommy to pick you up? And they're like, yeah, I'm done. Don't you see? Like, no more food, mealtime's over. So that's one of my children as well. They're waving in response to bye-bye. They're vocalizing 4 different syllables. A lot of times you have dada, mama, nana, baba. Sometimes you have yaya, wawa. So just different syllables at this early 6 to 9 months that you hear in play. And they're really imitating. So if you're like, na, 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 the baby's like, na, 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 back at you. And they're singing along with familiar songs. So you can't understand the words, but they're like, ah, da, da. And they're attempting to sing, which is really adorably cute. So this is my niece, and she's waving in this picture. She had just turned 12 months. So she's telling me, see you later. Happy that mommy's here. So you're waving hi and bye between 9 to 12 months. You're extending your arm to show an object. You're pointing to objects to indicate awareness. You're looking at the person saying your name. You're attending to objects mentioned during conversation. So if somebody's saying dada, you're like, oh wait, where is he? You know, you're aware of these words that you hear in conversation. You're pushing toy cars, and you're trying to secure an object out of reach. So that's when you have like the remote control in the living room, and the next thing you know it, the baby is like, you know, going to get the remote control, and you're like, why are you trying to steal it? It's mine. So that's that age. So between 12 and 15 months, you're using vocalizations more frequently. You're following one-step commands during play. You're responding to requests to say words. You're shaking your head no. You're saying or imitating 8 to 10 words spontaneously, and you're producing 3 animal sounds. So in this picture, her brother is sitting with her, and this bear is like a little talkative and interactive, and I think it's like Scout Sister. I forget what the name of the bear is, but they'll sing a song and they'll say, clap your hands. So they're trying to help follow these one-step commands, and he's activating the bear with her and helping her listen and follow. Things that I need you guys to remember. It's not important for new talkers to learn their letters, their colors, or their numbers, because that's going to be learned later. But the earliest words to communicate are up, go, more, open, yes, no, all done, me. There are these words that have functional meaning. I really should have added me to that list. But those are the words that you want to focus on. Of course, you're always going to point out a letter and a color and a number, but the words that you are going to imitate with a lot of intent are these functional words. So in this picture, she's pointing. She's like, can't we go this way? So you're pointing, you're showing, and giving objects. And that's a very huge piece of development right there to communicate. You're playing with toys in different ways. You're understanding 50 words. You're saying 15 meaningful words. You're talking rather than using gestures. So now instead of just waving bye-bye, you might say bye-bye. And it might not be bye-bye. It might be bye-bye. And night-night sound like na-na. But instead of doing a gesture, you may also have that vocalization to go with it. So hi could sound like ha. It might not have that great vowel at the end, but with a gesture, people know what the baby's saying. So we're going to use between 18 and 21 months. You're using vocalizations and words during pretend play. You are imitating housework activities. You're using two toys together in pretend play. You are understanding the meaning of action words. So that's why at 18 months, not that they always want to listen, but your child should be responding to come here, sit down, jump, things like that, run. Those are early action words that the baby should be understanding. They're at moments imitating 2 and 3 word phrases. And they occasionally will use 2 words. So that would be no ma, no mama, or no ma for no more. They're occasionally, but they're mainly just, using 1 word, but they have the occasional 2. So I guess we're going to say that we can't hear the videos, but there's this little video where the little girl is sitting. I guess you could put it on and I'll talk over it. You don't even have to try to put the volume on. So she's sitting in a high chair and she's requesting. So she's like, Papa, Mama, and she's trying to get up. So then the caregiver says to her, like, do you want up? And she says, up, down, down, up. And she's, if you kind of look at her mouth, you could tell that she's trying to say it. And it's cute because she establishes attention by first calling the caregiver. And you could tell, she's whining. And then, but she then looks up when the caregiver realizes that she wants her to get up. And then she really is hardly saying 2 words, this little girl. But in this video, they catch her at a moment saying up, down. And I would give her credit for 2 words, which is really beautiful. Okay. So at 21 to 24 months, the baby is attempting to repair broken toys. They're understanding new words rapidly. They're using 2 word phrases frequently. They're using 50 different words. They're using new words regularly, and they're referring to their self by name. So different ways to expand these sentences are to use the functional phrases that just occur. So syllable repetition. So not only saying bye, you do bye-bye, because you're combining bye-bye. You're in the bubbles and you're not just popping a bubble, you're doing pop, pop. So you could do 2 words together. So the car doesn't just beep, it's beep, beep. And then you're not saying good night, you're like night, night. And those are putting syllables together to make these words such as baby, bubble, puppy. And I spoke about it before, but these functional phrases are, uh-oh, all done, my turn, did it. So you're going to really use these phrases throughout routines. And the pivot words are hi, bye, my, in, more, want. And you can combine that with sounds to make these 2-word sentences, which is spectacular. So at 24 to 27 months, you're pretending to talk on the phone. You're performing many related activities during play. You're using most toys appropriately. You're using 3-word phrases frequently. You're using action words. So now you're saying to the baby is saying to the caregiver, sit or eat, mama, eat. Like the child is using the action word. Between 27 and 30 months, the child is demonstrating parallel play. They're talking and verbalizing more in play around other children. They're responding to simple questions. So that's, do you want a cookie? Yeah, yeah. You know, they get it. They're understanding those little questions. They're using 2 sentence types, and they're responding to greetings consistently. So here's a picture of the parallel play. That's the 2 little girls on the other side of the window, and the caregiver is sticking these things to the window. And I don't know if you guys can tell from the picture, but they look like flat stickers, but they actually spin. So it's like this fun game that they're playing back and forth. And the younger one is like, oh, well, I'm going to play alongside of her. Maybe I don't have enough language to talk to her, but that's parallel play. They're going to engage in the activity right next to each other. And then in the first picture, she's missing her ear, but she is attempting to pretend to talk on the phone. And I have a video of it too. And she's saying, ha, dada. And she's pretending to call her dad, which is really cute. So at 30 to 33 months, the child is performing longer sequences of play activities. They're pretending to perform the caregiver's routine. So this is the child that's really helping you vacuum. They're helping you sweep. They're wiping. They're helping you get the clothes in and out of the dryer. So they're really understanding and helping you perform your routine. They understand 5 common action words. They understand yes and no questions correctly, and they start using prepositions. Between 33 to 36 months, they're using one object to represent many. So, you know, a banana could be a cell phone, a banana could be something you eat, and a banana could also be a car or something that's being loaded in the back of the truck for a delivery. The toddler is showing interest in why and how things work. They're identifying parts of objects. So it's not just an airplane, but it's an airplane, and then the airplane has, it has a door, and it has, I'm thinking really of a helicopter, but so it has the wings, and it has the part on top that spins, and it has all of the different parts. And the child is labeling the tires of a truck and the door of a car, which is pretty cool. And then they're also beginning to relate recent experiences through verbalizations, and they're conversing in sentences. So the child goes to the park with the mom during the day, and when they come home, they can say to the daddy, like when they come home and they're all muddy, park, and they're saying, mommy and park, mommy, me, park, car. And they're able to, in their own way, communicate what happened during the day. So what if those first words don't come? And I think that as parents, right, that's one of our earliest fears, and a fear that can be very real. So the key to verbal communication is to make sounds or words in order to satisfy needs, right? So we have to figure out what it is that the child wants, how to set up situations during the day that we could facilitate communication. And these first words, function to call people we need or get what we want in the environment. So that's when the baby's in the crib and they're crying in the morning, but then it starts to morph into that they're calling, or maybe just reduplicating dad, 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 dad. Or maybe they're calling daddy, but we can reinforce it. We can go to their crib when we go to pick them up and say, yeah, look who's here, mama, dad, whoever it is. And you're reinforcing that babble had communicative intent. And you have to reward the child for any attempt at a word by giving them the thing that they were seeking. So if they were seeking getting up and they actually babbled instead of crying, that would be the first step of rewarding them. And I want you guys not to be as concerned about the pronunciation of the word as the child starts to talk. That's a whole nother topic in its own. When the child is really talking, but it's super hard to understand, or imitating is really hard, but you know how much they understand and how much communicative intent they have. But in these early stages for this topic, I don't want you to be concerned that more sounds like more and hi sounds like ha. You know, that's okay. It will end up changing to a better pronunciation. So if those words don't come, sign language is an absolute great temporary tool to facilitate language. And I think that a lot of parents are nervous about facilitating sign language because they're like, who would understand what my child's saying? If my child is putting their hand up to their mouth like this, and this is really the sign for water, but they're not saying water, nobody's going to understand them. But just like crawling facilitates movement before a child can walk, sign language facilitates language. There have been so many studies done that show early gestures, waving, clapping, reaching, all of those gestures in infants light up the same part of the brain as language. So if you can facilitate a gesture to have meaning, so a caregiver and a child, or a child and a child can communicate, then we're doing our job to get the child to the next level. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to discuss your concerns with your pediatrician. And, you know, there's always the wait and see approach, but I think it's important if you as a parent are concerned and feel like there's certain milestones that you see at play groups that you're like, you know, and you always have to remember the bell curve, and you always have to remember that girls tend to actually reach their milestones before boys, and there's a bell curve of normal. But it's still okay to know that, well, maybe that child's advanced, but I'm pretty sure my child might really actually be behind. So you have to figure out, you know, where you fall or where your child falls in development. But it's a great conversation to bring up with the pediatrician at the well visits. You can also call early intervention for the initial eval to assess your child's speech and language development. And early intervention in the state of New Jersey it's not free, but the assessment, the initial call, and the initial evaluations are all free. So it's something to look into, because the first part of it is absolutely free. It's services that aren't free. That's based on a sliding scale, but it would be the next step, especially if you're concerned, how you could really assess if you should or shouldn't be concerned, because you'll then know where your child is falling. Always work on these pre-linguistic skills. Pre-linguistic meaning before language, and that's gesture and motor imitation rather than working on a word. Because if your child's not ready to work on the word, then we have to back up what our expectations are and work on the gesture or just motor imitation in general. And I have to say, the more the parent is engaged, the more the caregiver is engaged with your child, the more likely the child is to be engaged. So if you think peekaboo is funny, somehow you're going to capture them. But if you're doing it because you think you should just be doing peekaboo, it's not as fun. Child doesn't feel your passion and doesn't feel as motivated to, you know, really engage. I realize that you guys are looking at a mirror image of early signs, but I could always get it to Danielle later. It's just a very small handout, just imitating what the signs are. So I use the sign for more. And it could be any approximation of here. Some children could do it like this, but it's a gesture that has meaning. Please is rubbing the chest right here. Drink, play, mine or me. Done. Eat. Thank you. And my own kids were late talkers, you know, even as the mom of a speech therapist, right? I thought I did everything right, but I used every moment to write, because that's just in my bones. But they were late talkers, but they knew signs. They knew 30 signs actually. And putting this presentation together, I was going back to old videos, and it was it was pretty impressive at the signs that they knew and used, which was pretty cool to see, because they knew that they couldn't communicate, but I gave them another avenue to, which was great. So we should also always working on expanding sentences. So that's stringing words together, and that's combining those function and pivot words to the noun and the verb. So my cookie, more ball, go car, puppy eat cookie. And then it's amazing because when they can say puppy eat and they can say eat cookie, they could say eat cookie puppy or puppy eat cookie, and they start combining even more than just two words. So asking and answering questions is so important. The way we process information is how our brain receives the information from our ears, figures out the meaning of the signal, determines the appropriate way to respond. And one processing is how we can understand what a question is saying and then answer it. So examples of yes, no, do you want a cookie? And those early yes, no questions should have a lot of meaning. Not like, is your brother nice? Like, that's subjective in the moment. So you're going to really ask, do you want? And a lot of times it's a desire for an object or food. What is this? And you're doing that during pointing or a book activity. Where? So you're going to say, where's your shoes? What are you doing? Whose shirt is this? Who is this? So these are early questions that you're going to be asking. And now we're in the terrific twos, not the terrible twos. Because 2 is an amazing age, right? So this independence of this little person has exploded, and they want to control every situation. And they also feel like their language should count, right? Because up until 2, anything they said, we were always like congratulating them on every word, and every word had meaning. So now when they're yelling me cookie, and we can't satisfy that need of their communication, they have a breakdown. So it's normal. It's how we have to play with our words and how we have to be really careful. So choice questions are best. Should we take Teddy or Dino to bed? Do you want milk or juice? Do you want to eat cut carrots or cooked carrots? Because in the end, they're eating carrots, right? But it's all about how you're wording the question to get the right outcome. And you have to be careful. I mean, parents do it all the time. My sister does it with her little one. Do you want to go to bed? Are you tired? I'm like, what? It's bedtime. It's nap time, so really work on your language about time for bed, ready to go up. You're not asking. It's time for bed. Let's go upstairs. Not, are you ready to go upstairs? Because you're not going to get the right outcome, and definitely not at 2 years old. Or before 2. So daily routines are the absolute best opportunities for language learning. Bath is a perfect example. So you think about all the nouns in the bathroom: the tub, water, bubble, soap, towel, shampoo, toothbrush, toothpaste, and then all the different body parts. I used to, play a game that I would put their hands out, and I would take their hand and I'd put soap and I'd say, wash belly. And then I would take their hand and scrub their belly, wash hair. And they would, so you're having these moments of learning and imitating simple language. So then you have the action words: wash, scrub, dry, pour, pop, blow, brush. And then concepts: you're getting in the tub, you're getting out, you're wet, you're dirty, you're clean, the water's all gone, bath time's all done, the tub is empty. And then for older kids, now you're expanding the language. Time for a bath, fill it up, wash your belly, pop the bubbles, put it in the cup. Oh, look, the water goes out. Oh, I'm going to put it in the tub. Bye-bye, water. More toys in. Brush my teeth. Brush your teeth. And then these other daily routines are at meal times, diaper changes, getting dressed, getting into and out of the car. So you're going to work on that buckle every time. Buckle. Ooh, open. So when it's stuck every time, oh, stuck, mommy do. And you're really imitating what you're doing in these moments. So there's a little muffin of mine. Not one of my kids, but, there she is in the bath, and we were working on body parts. And then I asked her to stick her tongue out, and and she's looking at me and she's holding these different letters. And I don't know if we were really naming the letters, but we were talking about the letters in, and we were washing the letters, and we put the soap on the letters. And then when she gets older, we're going to work on the letters and we're going to work on the colors. But there's so much you could do at bath time to facilitate language and joint attention. So imagination is so important. Pretend play is really the most important part of a child's development. And just using, you don't need to buy fancy things. It's just using household objects with a doll, with a stuffed animal, and engaging in that play. So you can get a really big spoon and a bowl, and you're putting the teddy bear in front, and you're going to serve the teddy bear dinner, and you're going to feed him, and you're going to put him to bed, and you're going to comb his hair, and you can pretend to spill the juice, and oh no, oh boy, and you're just being funny and engaging, and you're showing the child how to play, and you're showing the child these little routines, such as pushing the doll in a stroller, rocking the baby to sleep, or wiping the baby's mouth. And allowing the children to play imaginatively is just really healthy. It's a really, really great way for them to learn. Puzzle play is another great from young, because it's an activity that could be centered around young children and can also be centered around an older child. So you're going to start with those really simple wooden puzzles, and there's so much vocabulary around a puzzle, and there could be vocabulary based on in and out, my turn, your turn, or it could be on the shape that you're putting it in, or the object that you're putting it in. You're naming what you're putting in, you're showing them where it goes. So it's a lot of good joint attention. Or you can hold up two pieces, and even if they can't name the piece, you're going to say, what do you want? And the baby's going to reach, because they're making a choice. And that's communication, because they were able to express what they wanted. And you could use a puzzle to practice yes and no question. Does it fit? No. Does it fit? No. Does it fit? Yes. So, and then book time, as I talked about before, I gave you guys a bunch of books that I tend to use. Brown Bear. So Brown Bear is so great because you can talk about Brown Bear, you can sing Brown Bear, you can have the baby fill in Brown Bear. So you could go, Brown Bear, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at, and then you wait for the baby. And what you could do is take the baby's hand and do me once they accept a hand over hand gesture. And then you're yellow duck, what do you see? And when they're older, they're naming the animal, and you're expanding the language on what that animal says, where that animal lives, what color is that animal, and all those great questions. So there's Polar Bear, The Very Busy Spider, From Head to Toe board book, Guess How Much I Love You, Where's Spot? So Where's Spot's so good for questions, because you can use it for a baby just for open and bye-bye, or you can use it as like where and meaning a location. So there you're going to use the real preposition, under, over, in, peek-a-hoo, where's the baby's belly button, 10 little ladybugs. Okay. And there's an example of my niece reading with her dad, and she's definitely gesturing towards a picture. And then songs and finger play. So songs, rhymes, finger play, they're such valuable tools for language development. And children learn through repetition. They want to hear it over and over and over. And it's very, very normal. They want you to sing the same song more, do itsy bitsy again, do itsy bitsy again. You're like, don't you want to change it up? But that's how they learn, through this repetition. So singing favorite songs, retelling favorite rhymes. It helps to anticipate and predict. I have this other video. We're not going to put it in, but it's the mom is singing a song, and at the end of the song, the alligator roars, and the baby is young, and the mom sings, and right at the end, the baby's just to roar for the alligator. So they're anticipating or predicting what's happening next, which is, really great and important. The actions and finger movements that accompany many of the rhymes they're fun for these interactions. When you're doing itsy bitsy, you don't only have to do it in the air, but you could do it on their belly, and it makes it fun. So I gave just some examples of peekaboo, so big, pat a cake, itsy bitsy, wheels on the bus, row row, twinkle twinkle, ring around the rosy, old MacDonald, farmer in the dell, this old man, and rain, rain, go away. So block play, we had talked about blocks earlier, but you're doing the my turn, your turn. You can say up, 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 and then they go down and boom. So not only are you playing, you're interacting, you're engaging, but you're teaching concepts. And then for the older kids, you're talking about the shape of the block and the color of the block and how the block feels and different things. You're really expanding the language. So based on the age of the child and where the child is in language development. And I just want you guys to remember that language is all around us. All interactions help facilitate language. Cutting out small periods of time during the day to sit with your child will help build this foundation to learn language. It's so important. There's a vacuum outside my door. I'm going to move over. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's really important to be patient with your child. It's important to celebrate the small successes to get to the end goal. Each child is unique, so it's important to enjoy your child's road to language, knowing that every child's road to language is going to be different. So that's it. Any questions? Should I stop sharing my screen?
No, you can leave it up. That was awesome. So we do have one question that already came in. Anybody else throw questions in the chat so that the Q&A?
I don't see. Can you read me the question? Because I don't see it. Okay.
Yep, I'll read to you. So our first question that came in was, how can I encourage my 2.5-year-old to finish his words? For example, he says man for monkey or mill for milk.
Perfect. That's a really great question. Okay, so I love your monkey example because, so first of all, in language development, deleting the final consonant is actually a skill that is allowed on a developmental checklist until 3 years old. So at 2.5, that's totally within developmental norms. But I love that you're recognizing it because, right, you have 6 months to get to that final consonant. So it's funny in speech, we do very, very funny things. So if you get a really cool picture of a monkey and you can cut the monkey and you do, listen, monkey. So when he's saying, you show me, and you're putting the cards down, monkey, and you can tap it out, you can clap it, monkey. And I don't know your particular child, but you can really use it as 2 separate to make it one. Milk is hard because milk is, if the baby is saying meh for milk, all you're going to do is acknowledge it. Great job, Gavin. You said milk. So did you hear that? Look what mommy did it. Mommy did milk. You say it, you model it, you move on. Because you don't want to make them crazy, but you want to model it correctly. So you're going to stress that cue at the end when you model. But it's still developmentally appropriate, which is awesome.
Great. A next question. This was fabulous. I agree. How can we teach sign if we don't know sign ourselves? Can you share that handout? And I actually have, if you share that handout to me, I can put it on the private Facebook group as well. So
perfect. And I don't know why my handout became a mirror image. I have to figure out why, but it's totally fine. I'll get Danielle a normal copy. And what I would do, even at the library, if you go to the public library and ask the librarian, oh, do you have any books on early, simple? Be like, I don't know sign language, but I'm looking for simple nouns. They can help you. There's also on YouTube, and I really find him, he's engaging, this guy. His name is Jack Hartman, and he sings all of these songs. And in some of his songs, he's teaching sign language for like letters, and he's singing like S, S, you know, and then they do the sign for S and say it, sign it, learn it. There's like this cute little thing, and the kids are, and he's signing, say it, sign it, learn it, or this little jazzy, very catchy tune. But I find that he has some really like short educational videos that even if you watched, not that you wanted to share the phone with your kid, but that you watched to pick up on some of these early signs. It's a really good video.
Awesome. Somebody actually just put it in the chat. So I might put that in the Thrive Facebook group tonight.
Perfect.
For anybody who isn't with us tonight. Thank you. Any other questions? I know that for my little one, we taught her sign language at an early age, and we didn't know sign language ourselves. So we Googled, but it was very helpful.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny because my husband used to be like, what is he saying? And like, we just took it as like a learning opportunity. I'm like, and his signs were gross motor, you know, like, here's the sign for water. And I was watching a video today, and I'm like, oh, are you telling me you're all done? And I'm just talking back to one of my kids at the dinner table. And he's like, and my husband's like in the background, he's like, I don't know, I think he's trying to tell you something. And then he's like, does it again. And I'm like, are you telling mom you want water? And he's like, I couldn't say, but like, it was cute because he had some attempt. I wasn't imitating water at the moment, but he used this gross imitation of a sign. And that can help decrease frustration when they're really frustrated. And it's important sometimes to go through the frustration to get the communication. And that's okay. You know, we all feel like, I don't want you to torture your child. That is definitely not what I'm saying, but I want you to model it in a very important way. So if those are the 10 minutes you're working on communication, then those are the 10 minutes you're really going to facilitate it. And you're not going to lead to frustration of crying, but you're going to model in this calm way. And even if you do hand over hand, over time, the child's going to realize what your intent is to get the message across.
Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like all of our questions for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Lori, thank you. That was so informative and so wonderful. And now that I have two little kids, I feel like I can relate to all of that.